Hey there, folks. This is Bardic Dragoon, and welcome to Dragon Quest. As much as I love the opening overture there for the Dragon Quest series, we don't have time to sit through it 2 times here. Oh, I mean, we probably do, but it's already probably a couple of people sitting there like, where's the voice? What's happening here? Anyway, yes, we of course are going to be playing here Dragon Quest. Particularly, we're going to be playing the Switch release, which apparently also is on PS4. But as for Dragon Quest itself, it is a JRPG, arguably, not much room to argue, the first JRPG released back in 1986 in Japan, and I believe 87 in the US under the title Dragon Warrior, which is what in the US it was known for up until, I believe it was Dragon Quest 8 was the first one. Dragon Quest 8 was the first one to go into the Dragon Quest moniker before they started doing then all the remakes of all of them, which was in 2000-ish. I don't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, it is, well, the first JRPG, and there's a couple of things to expect of that as far as simplicity and all of that. But, of course, first thing we're going to be doing here is starting off with our adventure log, or creating a new adventure log, starting a new game, essentially. And, yeah. This screen actually has a bit of interesting decision-making to be had here. As the way that Dragon Quest 1 works for determining your stat growth, you actually have different possibilities of stat growth. You only get one character throughout the whole game, and what you name that character determines how your stats grow. It's actually kind of an ingenious way that it's done. Essentially put, all the possible characters that you can use are arranged onto a chart. Unfortunately, I don't have the information for this revision of the game, so I don't know how it's laid out, but this is most similar to the, well, really more the Super Famicom version re-release back in, I think it was like 91, 92, I forget off the top of my head. But yeah, that one is kind of the first real remake of the game, and then everything has kind of been based off of that. The only real kind of, well, not really exception, but there is the Game Boy Color version, which does add a bit more content, but the remakes that came after that go back to kind of the Super Famicom version, which, considering the extra content isn't all that great, though it does kind of make for a slightly better intro, but, well, Game Boy Color screen crunch and all that stuff, of course, not fun. But essentially, all of the characters that you can use in naming your character are arranged onto a table. In the Super Famicom and Game Boy Color versions, and presumably other versions as well, though this one has some extra characters that can be used and a longer character limit, so I don't know if they might have changed things up, though from my test trying some names, it does seem to line up still pretty well, but I haven't tried using any special characters, which is where the majority of differences are. But yeah, it's a 16 wide, 4 tall chart, or table, and essentially each column is assigned a certain number, between 0 and 15. What ends up happening is every character you choose in your name is added together, and then you divide that by 16. So for example, we are going to call our hero here. And yes, because of the way that that chart works, lowercase and uppercase does make a difference. But yeah, we're going to call our hero Letty. With that, then that essentially, based off of the Dragon Warrior or the Super Famicom and Game Boy Color version of the charts, that gives us a total of 32. So then we divide that number by 16, but what ends up happening is you don't actually take the result of that division, you actually take the remainder. In this case, because 32 is a number that is perfectly divisible by 16, you end up with a remainder of 0. And so that remainder value between 1 and, or between 0 and 15 gives you your kind of starting stats and your stat growth. In this case, we're going to end up with a starting stats of 6 strength, 6 agility, 3 resilience, 15 HP, and 0 MP. With our HP and MP both having good growth to them, while the rest of them have not so great growth. It actually overall, like if you want to try and like, oh, find what's the perfect name to name your character, try and play the meta of the game. Honestly, the way that the stats work in this game, it doesn't make that big of a difference. And yeah, we're gonna put sound effects as loud. I love the sound effects in this. I actually have, what is it, the level up sound effect, I think, is my text notification on my phone, because I can. because I'm that much of a dork. Anyway. Well, I'll get to more explaining the stats once we can pull up our stats here. But yes, we start off speaking with the king. Ledi, scion of the bloodline of Erdrick, hero of legend, long have I waited thy coming. In days of yore, thy revered ancestor did receive of the almighty goddess the sphere of light. By its power was our world rid of the menace which did beset it. Yet, alas, some few years past, there did arise a new threat, the Dragon Lord. With his cunning he did steal away the sphere of light from us, plunging the land into darkness once more. Should this state of affairs be suffered to continue, the night must surely take unrelenting hold of our realm, and our realm perish. So I say unto thee, Ledi, of the bloodline of heroes, vanquish the accursed Dragon Lord, and reclaim the sphere of light. In the chest over yonder wilt thou find items to aid thee in thy quest. Take what thou wilt with my blessing. Partake thee also of the wisdom of those loyal subjects gathered here in my throne room. Doubt not but that their knowledge will serve thee as well as any shield. May the goddess guide thee to victory, and return thee unto us ere long, brave Ledi. Okay, so yeah, it's a fairly straightforward setup for this game. You essentially, evil dude stole the thing, and also the king doesn't mention it, but one of these guys in the room does mention it. Also stole the princess, and well, our ultimate goal is to kill the evil dude and get back the thing. We should probably rescue the princess, and there's also other things to be brought up as far as kind of optional and side things. Though admittedly one or two of those optional things are actually mandatory. But yeah, as far as with stats, as I said, there's only 5 stats here. Strength, agility, resilience, HP, and MP. You do also have attack and defense, but those are basically strength plus your weapon, or resilience plus your armor. So they're not really separate stats, so they are what's used in determining actual attack calculations and damage calculations, all that. But the way that it works as far as the way stats work, essentially, your attack power, you only really get an extra point of damage to any given target for every 4 points of attack you have. And defense, you only basically get a reduction of damage of 1 point for every 2 points of defense you have. So given that, and well, agility is just used for kind of calculating escape chance, evasion chance, if I remember correctly, and first strike chance, which all feature factors of randomization in the equation as well. So, well, agility larger is better. The main thing is that what your differences are in stats, aren't that great. For example, by endgame, if you took the minimum strength, which is what I'm going to end up with, 120, or actually 128, then compare that to the maximum strength, which is going to be 143. That's only a 15-point difference. In other words, 3 to 4 points of extra damage to a target. Not super useful. I mean, damage values in this game aren't super high, so 4 points can make a difference. I mean, the final boss only has 200 some odd hit points, so 4 points can make a difference, but not a big difference. And that's kind of where each of the differences in all the stats come from. The difference between the minimum versus the maximum, which I'm going to end up getting probably the maximum MP if the tables work as the ones I'm referencing here, is only about a casting of a late game spell. It just falls short of that. And yeah, so all the differences aren't that great. But if you do want to try and metagame it, I would suggest going for something that has good MP growth. As well, you start out with the same MP at all times, 0 MP, because in the beginning we found a torch. That was the button I meant to press. Yeah, we don't have any spells. We don't know anything. So we don't know any magic, we don't have any MP. So with that, getting good MP growth is a good option because, well, this isn't a super deep game, as with most games. Having greater resource pools to use special abilities is always useful. It's not a big difference by late game and by max level, and given you're probably going to beat the game before max level, as you only really need to be about maybe 20-25 out of max level of 30. And they've kind of reduced the difficulty. I mean, Super Camo was the first one, mostly just reduced the grinding, but overall this game isn't very hard. So anyway, let's get back to opening chest. We already found a torch here. 120 gold coins, that'll be useful in a bit. And a magic key. And what do you have to say? Dost thou know of aught of poor poor Princess Gwenlyn? No. Princess Gwenlyn is the sole heir of His Majesty the King. Since the untimely death of Her Majesty the Queen, Gwenlyn hath been our beloved ruler's sole source of comfort. Alas, a half year prior to this day, foul monsters saw fit to tear the princess from the bosom of we, her people. His Majesty speaketh not of the tragedy, but 'tis plain the loss doth pain him deeply. Brave lady, I beg of thee, deliver the princess from her plight. Or Letty. Maybe I shouldn't have named myself Letty. That's probably going to lead to a lot of misstatements. Anyway, yes, so that's the princess, who would be sitting here normally, has been kidnapped. And considering she's actually really useful for one of the mandatory things you need to do in the game, you're probably going to want to rescue her. Plus, there's some fun things that can be done, but we'll get to that later. What about you guys? To the east of this castle lieth a sizable settlement. Therein shalt thou find establishments offering weapons and armor which will serve thee well upon the battlefield. Shouldst thou ever come to harm in battle, lay thy head to rest at the inn. Thy wounds will be healed ere thou wakest. So yeah, buy weapons, go to the inn if you're injured. Standard RPG stuff, but this was the beginning. You had to explain these things to people. If thou hast partaken of the contents of each and every chest, thou shalt by now have found a magic key. Use thee this key to open yonder door, and thou shalt lose it forever, yet use it thou must, for beyond that door thine adventure begins in earnest. So yeah, keys are disposable items. You'll notice, we only have a key in our inventory. Probably should have looked at the inventory before I showed that, but whatever. But yeah, we are now ready to begin our journey. If thou wouldst rejoin thy quest from a point of thy choosing, thou must need record thy deeds in an adventure log. And do you explain how to do that? If thou... Oh, you say the same thing. Cool. So yeah, the reason they're saying that here is that... Well, if you come talk to the king... Come before me once more when thou art ready to embark upon thy quest. I shall await thy return, brave lady. Oh, so I guess we have to leave the castle before we'll do it. But he's essentially the save point. The only save point in the game. You talk to him, he'll record, what events you've completed, your level, and all that. Again, first JRPG, very simple. Come here. In days of yore, lo, the fair city of Tantagel was a veritable fairground wherein the merrymakers of the world did play. And yet now we are beset on all sides by foul fiends, and the golden days are no more. Ah, sweet memory. Yes, I plan to overact every line of dialogue that I come across, because I can. So, plus, I mean, come on, the faux Elizabethan speech here. How could you not overact that? Hey, get back here, lady. Oh, princess, where art thou? Could it be that the foul fiends who took thee have taken thy young life also? Nay, we must not surrender to despair. Brave lady, I prithee, forget all that I said, henceforth hope, and hope alone shall guide me. And I believe you actually have something useful to do. When dark doth spread across the land, light shall return by Erdrick's hand. O almighty goddess, we pray that the ancient teachings hold true. May thy light shine upon brave Letty's quest. Yeah, he just restored my MP. Not that I have any MP to restore, but I'm not sure why, but he restores MP for free. Compared to an inn, which does also restore HP, but you will pay for that. Yeah, you're sleeping on the job, dude. Oh, Princess Gwenlyn. Oh, by the way, something worth pointing out that this guy said here. Erdrick. Erdrick is the name of the legendary hero in most English translations of this game. The Japanese translation, the name is actually Loto, which can be transliterated as either Roto or Loto because the Japanese have a weird LR combined consonant sound that we don't have in English. Instead we have L and R, so you can do either one. I'm probably going to inadvertently refer to him as Loto a lot in this game because the Game Boy Color version is the first version I played. Yeah, nothing there. Actually, the only one that has anything there is this one, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Medicinal Herb. Which, medicinal herbs, well, let's take a look at that. Restores 20 to 35 HP. Very useful early game healing item before you start getting healing magic, and also before your HP just starts to outpace what an herb can do. And actually, this one does have one nicety in the way that the inventory has been rebalanced, because you do have a limited inventory. In the original game, And I believe most of the remakes even, I think it wasn't until the mobile version, which is what this is actually based off of, that they actually added in item stacks. So essentially, previously, medical herb would have been, if I had 2 of them, they'd take up 2 slots in my inventory. I think you only have either 8 or 16 item slots. So when you add in, mandatory quest items, your equipment, which thankfully this game doesn't really do a lot. You've got weapons, shields, armor, and also there are accessories, though they are few and far between. So you're going to end up with, not much use for medical herbs. Because you do also have keys, as I mentioned. And keys are very useful. Anyway, but as I was saying with the translation, Loto is... Actually, wait, did I talk to you? Oh yeah, if thou questeth in caves or dungeons dank, a torch or 2 will serve thee well, friend. It is in the place where the darkness doth penetrate most deeply that the fiends do throng thickest. So yeah, you will need to use torches in dark caves, which all caves are dark, because this was before lighting, electricity? I don't know. Anyway. But yeah, let's talk to people and get to the whole translation thing in a bit. Didst thou hear the rumors? No. They speak of a town laid to ruin by marauding monsters. Verily, they are shocking, are they not? Yeah, the town destroyed by monsters is kind of shocking. Hey, get over here. I ply the trade of the traveling merchant. Lo, countless of our brotherhood are fallen at the hands of roaming beasts of late. Full many friends have I lost. Sigh, merely to speak of them bringeth tears to mine eyes. So yeah, monsters are wandering the countryside and killing things. And as I said, keys are useful, because they open any locked door. And there's some useful items there, but we can't get to it yet. What about you? What do you have to say? Thy first priority must ever be to hone thy skills by battling beasts. As thou gainest in experience, thy level shall increase, and so too shall thy might. Leveling up is a thing. It's an RPG. That's to be expected. Yeah, what about you two? What are you hiding out here for? Would that I might pass all the remaining days of my life alone with my beloved. Yet the knowledge that a monster might rob us of this simple joy at any moment weigheth heavy upon my mind. To be alone with my beloved is to forget all that threaten this world. But alas, I cannot put our plight entirely from my thoughts, for my lover informed me that were our world to be destroyed, our love too must surely perish. Again, get used to the overacting. I enjoy doing that, and this game just has dialogue that allows for that. No door may be opened without a key, but alas, 'tis the curse of the magic key to crumble into dust after but a single use. They already kind of explained that one. He didn't bring us any useful information. But as I was saying, with the translation, I might just end up referring to the guy as Loto unless, it says it on the screen, because the Game Boy Color translation, due to character limits, they went with that rather than the NES translation and what has become the standard for the English translations going after the Game Boy Color one, Erdrick. So they went with Loto because it only takes 4 characters versus 8 characters, I think. I don't know. I have to go talk to that guy again, but I don't feel like doing that. Alright, and so they went with that, and that's what I'm used to. That's what I tend to refer to the character as. It actually kind of annoyed me when Smash released the hero as a character, and I was like, oh yeah, Loto, there was rumors of that. Erdrick, there were rumors of that. No, it's Loto, you stupid bastards. I mean, yes, technically they're right, I'm wrong, but screw you, I have nostalgia. The Castle of Tentadel bids thee welcome. I'm leaving, why are you welcoming me? Whatever. And now we are at the world map. And first stop is this town. I'm sure you'll tell me where we are. The castle town of Tentadel bids thee welcome, wanderer. Yes, so the castle of Tentadel versus the town of Tentadel. It's the first town, and, well, with the money that we were given, the 120 we start, that was in that one of those opening chests, it's best that we spend some money here and get provisions and whatnot. Welcome unto thee, friend. Prithee, make thy way into the premises and state thy business over the counter. This is a weapon shop, or, well, equipment shop more generally. Thou art welcome, wanderer, in this our humble armory. How, pray, may we be of use to thee this day? Which of our fine items tickleth thy fancy? I don't want you tickling my fancy. Just stay over there. Stay on your other side of the counter. Anyway, so, in general, probably your best option with the 120 that you have to spend is to get an oaken club. We already have a bamboo spear, and you'll notice it only gives you 2 extra points of attack. So, it doesn't really give you any real advantage. No, arguably it does, depending on enemy defense. You might actually get an extra point because that brings you to 8 as opposed to 6. Awkward position with my stats, but whatever. The Oaken Club, however, is relatively affordable and gives you 4 points. So that's basically a guaranteed extra point of damage versus maybe, maybe not, depending on your stats and the enemy. So, pick up the Oaken Club. And, of course, equip it. And we have to buy each item individually. The other thing I would suggest is the plain clothes. Well, because that gives us 2 points. That's already right there, 1 extra point of damage reduction. Or reduced, extra damage point reduced. The leather suit is similarly affordable, especially if we were to buy our bamboo spear, or sell our bamboo spear, rather. And if we were to... Pardon me, if we were to do that, that would be 4 points, 2 point reduction. However, we can get a similar boost if we get plain clothes and something else we can buy here. And then the leather shield, which gives 4 point, but again, you should probably buy the leather suit first, because the leather shield is, you know, the same thing but more money. Now you can have both the leather suit and the shield, so you probably want to buy both eventually. Maybe. There's obviously more equipment than what's listed here, but for the moment, buy some plain clothes, so we're not walking around naked. That's always good. And... alright. Actually, wait. Actually, no. We're not going to sell items sell things until we need it. What do you have to say? Many a courageous young adventurer hath set forth from Tanchdill town. Alas, nary one of them hath returned. I cannot help but fear that we are allowing thee to go forth to thy doom, laddie. Okay, we can't actually investigate that grave. Wherever the path of adventure leadeth thee, beware of bridges. For verily, beyond each bridge wilt thou find even more fierce and fearsome beast. And yeah, that's kind of, when we get to more exploring of the world map, you'll see it more readily. But yeah, the world is kind of divided into sections. And the different sections, of course, have different encounter tables. Bridges are kind of the, okay, you've crossed into a new area, the encounter table is different. And so, you know, obviously the farther you get from the starting region of the world map, the stronger the enemies get. I am a wandering merchant, hailing originally from fair Gallenholm. 'Tis a handsome settlement far to the north of here and west along the coast. The lands twixt here and there are home to monsters, multitudes, who hesitate not to make a meal of unwary wanderers. Verily, 'tis a miracle that I arrived here in possession of my beloved life. Not really. The town you mentioned there is still within the first encounter table area, so the monsters are very weak. Now, mind you, he doesn't have any weapons. Presumably he is a merchant, not, you know, a legendary hero, but still, they're not super strong. If he'd come from one of the other towns, I might be more impressed, but whatever. Friend, I know not who thou art, but I do beseech thee, deliver unto his majesty the king this news. The expeditionary force tasked with rescue of Princess Gwenlyn is no more. Prithee, tell his majesty that I am so very... Goddess, forgive us! So, you know, it's not like the king's sitting around waiting for his daughter to come home when she was kidnapped. That's good to know. Hast thou heard tell of the great bard Galen? They say he took his beloved lyre unto his grave. Oh, to have heard him play. Pay attention to that. That bard is going to be important later on. I am engaged in the study of methods for the removal of curses. Shouldst thou ever find thyself afflicted, prithee seek me out and I shall be glad to aid thee. Curses in this game is only through, and that's actually kind of in general, with the exception, I think, some later Dragon Quest games, I think starting maybe 7 or 8, did introduce it as a status ailment as well, which, you know, equipping cursed item just gave you that status ailment. But in the early games, such as this one, it's basically just an effect of equipping cursed equipment, which is usually somewhat powerful, but when you're cursed, there's just a certain amount of chance that your action, like, you just be paralyzed mid-fight, like, you just be like, I'm going to attack! Oh, wait, no, the curse affected you can't do that in this turn, sorry. So yeah, you want to avoid those, but we're not going to deal with that because I know which items are cursed, so I'm not going to do that. And there's nothing in there, so... Would you mind to get out of my way? Thank you. Friend, hast thou heard? Heard what? Yea, 'tis said that in a town far distant from this place, magic keys are sold as though they grew on the very trees. That is an important spot to be, because as I said, keys are useful. You want to buy those. Why are you hiding out here? Thou art of the bloodline of the mighty Erdrick, thou sayest, hast thou proof? No, because I'm of the heritage of Loto. Screw you. If thou art truly descended from Erdrick, thou must needs to bear proof of thy birthright. We'll get that eventually. Actually, what does it say if we say yes? Fie! Wherefore markest thou such grand claims when thou possessest ne'er a sign, seal, nor signet betokening thy lineage? If thou art truly descended from... Okay, they're just the same thing. Alright. We'll leave you for a moment here. What do you have to say? To the south there lieth a great fortress shrouded in mist. Mayhap thou hast espied it on thy travels? Well, stray not near it, for 'tis the home of the Dragon Lord. Lo, merely to mention his name doth strike fear into my heart. And then he shivers. Kind of cool. Welcome, friend. Welcome unto thee. Prithee, make thy way inside. We shall be delighted to assist thee. And this is the, I think, item shop? Item shop, okay. A purchase, which of our fine items, pray? And there we go, Dragon Scale. Now, because this is an item shop, it doesn't do like the equipment shop did, where it actually shows us stat changes. But the Dragon Scale is useful, particularly given that we've already got a medicinal herb and a torch. But yes, this is a talisman carved from the scale of a dragon. And we don't need anything else from you. Instead, we are going to go into our items. And this is an accessory. We can equip it. It gives us +2 to defense. So with that, spending only 40 gold, we get essentially the equivalent of if we had equipped either the leather shield or the leather armor. And considering we're kind of low on cash right now, saving every little gold is useful here. Now what do you have to say, lady? Nay, nay, thou art mistaken. I am not the fair Princess Gwenlyn. Though the comparison does flatter me greatly. Oh, thou art silver-tongued indeed, my lord. Very well, take me with you. And now she'll follow us around the town. If we leave town, she'll stop following us, and we'll have to come talk to her again to get her to follow us. This does absolutely no good. I'm guessing this was more like a test for the code of something later, except then they decided to do something, except that doesn't actually end up working that way. This is an inn. We can spend our money and spend the night here, recover our health, as was already discussed. And this is a bank. Banks weren't actually in the original game. I think they were introduced in the Super Famicom version because they become kind of a standard for the series at that point. Within these stout walls thy gold and thy treasure shall ever be safe. What, pray, might thy pleasures be this day? Oh, we can actually deposit items too. That's new. Usually you can only deposit money. Yeah, and we can only deposit in units of 1,000 coins. Or 1,000 gold coins. So we're not getting much there out of that for the moment. And actually in general, the banks were introduced in this, and the fact they can hold items, I don't remember them being able to do that before. But the fact that they were introduced here is kind of useless, because you're really not going to have that much money. I don't even think there's anything that would cost where you'd need to worry about that volume of money. Though it is, actually, yeah, wait, no, there's some of the later game equipment that you can buy is ridiculously expensive, so actually that is useful. But, because one thing, if you do die in this game, you lose half your gold. So you do want it, so putting it into a bank to make sure you don't lose it is useful. Beware the poisonous swamps, friend. Should thou attempt to cross them when thou art not in good health, misery and death shall be thy sole reward. And yeah, poison tiles on the world map, basically poison swamps. I think they're also in some dungeony areas, but I don't remember off the top of my head. However, importantly, a Chimera Wing. Chimera Wings, well, let's take a look at that. Instantly returns you to the safety of the castle. Single-use item, though, of course. And actually, let's look at the torch as well. Lights up darkness of dungeons, disappears when used. Alright, so with that said, we are kitted out and ready, so let's take on our first mission for the day. And you'll notice that girl is no longer following us around. And first thing we're going to do is get a little bit more info on the plot. Oh! Darn, I was really hoping that it would be just regular slime. Just because it's so iconic. Oh, the first Dragon Quest game, and what's the first thing we run into? A slime! Now it's instead a red or she slime, which is a stronger version of the regular slime. Coming in with 4 hit points, no magic or no spells, attack power of 7, defense of 3. Defense of 3, and an agility of 4. And they give you 4 gold to experience, and really, you can defeat them with just your weapons here. And not that hard. And now we have 4 extra gold coins and 2 experience. Huzzah! Alright, so this is the first dungeon. It's actually completely optional. In the NES game you did get an item here, but all that item does is explain the plot. Here, the item still exists, but you don't actually get it. It just, when you get to the point where it is, it explains the plot rather than being an item in your inventory that you can look at in case you forgot what was happening in your general, goal here. So of course, because we're in a cave, we're going to use a torch, which gives us a slightly larger space. As you saw, without the torch, we can only see where we were and kind of vaguely what was in each of the 4 cardinal directions. Because yes, this is tile-based movement. We can only move up, down, left, or right. There are no diagonals. Anyway, there really isn't much to do in here. It's kind of more a plot thing, so we're going to do that because of plot. And, well, of course, there are monsters here. Same monsters we fought on the world map, so not too worried about that. They're pretty weak with maybe one exception, but with us well kitted out, we probably shouldn't have any problems there. Oh, no. Of course, our torch went away, but you will still continue to use the torch until, you leave a space where you need it. So, since we're still in the cave, we still have our torch. When we leave the cave, we'll no longer have that torch, and if we walk in, we'll be blind again. We won't have a torch to use. Anyway, this is the reason we came down here, this tablet. The following message is etched into its surface. I am Erdrick. Hear me well, bearer of my blood, heir to my destiny. If you would reach the evil island visible from Tantagel's shore, you will require the 3 sacred artifacts. Gather them and you may yet cross to that cursed isle and destroy the source of all evil, as I, too, did so long ago. Before my passing, I entrusted the 3 objects to 3 great sages. If the fates have been kind, their descendants guard them still. When evil rules the ill-starred isle once more, gather the hallowed triad and strike a blow for the cause of light. No doubt those with the line of the sages await you somewhere in this world. Seek them out. Blood of my blood, child of my children, go forth and fulfill your destiny. So, yep, that's a message from our some number of greats grandfather, Erdrick / Loto. And it basically explains what we need to do. We need to find 3 items which will allow us to cross to the island where the main villain is in the final dungeon. Which we haven't really talked about much, even though it's visible right from the beginning of the game. Which is actually kind of an interesting choice from the game. Like, you can't get to it. You have to go through a pretty convoluted path around the world to even approach it, but it is visible there. And another sheesh line. Alright, well, let's head back to Tantagel then. Ah, regular slime. So, regular slimes. If you know anything about Dragon Quest, you've probably used that doofy-looking blue blob there. It's the basic enemy in this game and pretty much all of the Dragon Quest games. I think there are some exceptions. I think 6 might have changed things up a little bit, having what were referred to as spotted slimes. Those slimes were still a pretty weak enemy. They just had something that was weaker than them, if I remember correctly. Anyway, in this game, they have 3 hit points, 5 attack power, 3 defense, and give you 2 gold and 1 experience point, and don't have any special abilities. So we can pretty much just stab them and they die. Or beat them over the head with our club, actually, because we got a club, not a stabbing implement. And yeah, over there you can see the Dragon Lord's Castle. I forget what it's called. In the original English translation, it was referred to as Charlock Castle. But I think they just called the Dragon Lord's Castle in later versions. Or they might go back to that since they started calling Erdrick here, but I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I think it's called Dragon Lord's Castle. Anyway, you can see it from there, though to get to it, we'd have to go up around those mountains to the east, cross a bridge, go into a cave at the bottom of that new area, which takes us to another new continent, and then go back to the west to finally reach there. And even then, without those 3 artifacts, there's actually a bridge that we can't cross, or rather doesn't exist, until we get those 3 artifacts. So that's going to be our main goal. Along the way, we're going to also, find our legendary great some or other grandfather's equipment and make a trip and become a powerful warrior and all that fun stuff. Anyway, it's been about half an hour. We've gotten kind of the introduction to the game out of the way here. And I want to get another level or 2 here before we continue on to the next goal here. it's, like I said, not too hard of a game, but you do want to get a little bit of grinding in every once in a while. And yeah, the next area probably want to be about 3rd or 4th level. Actually, probably about 2nd or 3rd level before we continue on to the next set of things. Plus, we're going to want to get some gold for our next couple of stops. But, oh, let's, now that we've left the castle, the king should actually allow us to save. Let's see if he does. Brave lady, thou art returned to us. Full glad am I to see thee. I doth earn another 2 points of experience, and thou shalt attain a new level. Wilt thou record thy tale thus far in an adventure log? Thou wouldst proceed without recording thy deeds? So be it. Wilt thou continue on thy quest? Yes, because otherwise we'll lose our progress. Though this version does have an autosave, I'm just not sure how it works, and don't really plan to utilize it all that much. May destiny bring thee before us again ere long, brave lady. So yeah. We can save our game and learn how many experience points to the next level from the king here. And as I said, we're gonna call it a day here. Tune in next time where we're gonna be exploring a bit more of the world. Might get some things done here, but mostly go exploring a little bit broader. But as I said, I have some grinding and golding to do here before then, so I won't bore you with that. So until next time, as always, later, folks.